Hi there, this is the Book Cellar, and I'm your host, Jessica Gillen. This week, I'm bringing you the first episode of February, and you all know what that means. We're going to talk about the books I'm reading this month, as well as the latest releases for February. Thanks for tuning in, and this show is brought to you by Eventide Entertainment. Joining me on February 4th of 2018. It is the first episode of February, so we're going to bring you all sorts of good talk today. I can't believe how many releases, big releases no less, come out this month. And I get to tell you what I'm reading this month, so that's kind of exciting. However, I want to kind of throw this out there. I'm going to be changing my show. It's kind of complicated because I've started my show back in October and I'm kind of getting to understand my audience, what you guys want to listen to, as well as the feedback that I'm getting on Goodreads and what my friends and fellow reviewers like to hear reviewed the most. So before, I would have different categories of books, and that just didn't seem to be working for the show. And it was kind of hard for me to gather a lot of interest in not only with you guys, but also with myself to want to sit down and read some of these books, especially since a lot of the books I was picking from were older releases. And unfortunately, that just doesn't get a lot of buzz or feedback from listeners and even, myself. Like I just couldn't get as excited as what I'm going to be doing now. So we just brought that to you. Sorry for changing it again, but I'm going to start doing a lot of new release book reviews. So I'm going to be picking from books that are about no more than 6 months old. Mind you, sometimes I might throw in an old review of a book that came out a while ago just to kind of fill in the gap. But for the most part, you're going to get a lot of the new releases. Now, a lot of the books on Goodreads that get the most attention or what people want to hear about the most tend to be in the YA category. And as I told you before, I used to be a booktuber, and that's kind of the genre that I would review a lot. So I have a lot of experience with those books and the themes. Now, mind you, I will throw in adult fiction, mystery, fantasy, science fiction every now and then. But we're going to kind of focus the show in a different direction. So with that said, let's talk about books. Enough of that blah-de-blah stuff. We're going to really get down to the nitty-gritty here. So I kind of want to throw this out here. I have been doing audiobooks as well as reading books. I do a lot of video gaming and I read a lot of things online, and sometimes I just want something going on in the background. And so I've been doing the audiobooks as a way to kind of fill in that silence. It's kind of allowing me to be able to dip my feet into way more waters with books. So with that said, I tried it out this month and I listened to Crank by Ellen Hopkins. Now, I just said I was going to be talking about newer releases, but I just want to throw this quick little review out there because it was a really great book. So Crank is by Ellen Hopkins. It was published October 1st, 2004, quite a long time ago. But Ellen Hopkins has kind of stayed pretty major in the young adult fiction, realistic fiction category for a very long time. And I just never could get into her stuff. Like, I tried to read it, but it just didn't hold my attention very well. It's very poetic, beautifully written, but I tried the audiobook, and I don't know if it was the audiobook, the actress, or, the person that was doing the voiceover was amazing, and it captivated me, and it was a really well done audiobook. It was quick and very, very, very poetic. So with that said, it was probably one of the better audiobooks I've listened to, and I say that because of the the theme is a very dark theme. It's about addiction and, a young girl named Christina, and she kind of calls herself Bree, who gets caught up in difficult situations involving drugs, involving sex. And for me in my career, I work with foster kids when I'm not doing this stuff, when I'm not doing podcasting or streaming my video games. I do work with foster kids. And kind of an area that I always didn't really understand was addiction. And I'm talking about addiction towards like hard drugs, like cocaine, meth, heroin. Now, mind you, of course, there's, opiates too, such as like prescription painkillers and stuff. But I just never really understood that perspective of why a person does that. Personally, for me, I have never had the interest to do anything like that. So I just never had the sympathy towards people that did. But listening to this book, it kind of opened my eyes to a completely different perspective. And because I work with foster kids and a lot of times their parents are kind of wrapped up in that world, it kind of gave me a new awareness for the subject and a kind of a sympathy and an empathy for me to have a greater understanding of where the parents are coming from and why they do the things that they do. So I really want to thank that book, and that's why I kind of wanted to do a quick shout out about it. But that is not why we're here, ladies and gentlemen. We're here because I have some awesome books that I'm going to be reading this month, all of which I am 100% hands down super excited for. All of them are huge buzz novels. If you haven't heard some of these, you will be by the end of the year. I guarantee it. So without further ado, let's get into what I'm going to be reading this month. So first is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. Now this book has gotten a lot of attention, and it was recently published. It published January 2nd, 2018, so just over a month old. So that's kind of nice. I'm going to jump in with my feet. I guess I could go head first, really, and kind of throw out my review of a really big buzzworthy novel. So with that said, it's gotten a lot of buzz. Goodreads, Amazon, even on YouTube, people are just nonstop talking about this. And with that said, I personally I don't really know what it's about. I try to stay away from hype of novels. I've talked about this before, is when things are so overly hyped, I will pick it apart. I am so critical of books that have a lot of hype. So I've been kind of trying to stay back. I don't want to hear what a lot of people say, but you just can't help but hear things, especially when you spend as much time as I do on Goodreads and YouTube. So anyway, The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. This is right now set to be a trilogy, and the trilogy name is The Folk of the Air. It's young adult fantasy. Holly Black, I've never read her stuff before, but some of her other series that she's done is the Curse Worker series, the Spiderwick Chronicles, as well as the Modern Fairy Tale series. So there's already about 3,000 reviews on Goodreads, and an average rating about 4.33 on Goodreads and a 4.7 on Amazon. So it's pretty high. A lot of these books that I've picked have very high ratings. So I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be pretty harsh about what I'm going to be reading because I want to be honest with you about the things that might bother me or why it deserves the positive hype it's getting. So with that said, this is what The Cruel Prince is about. Jude was 7 years old when her parents were murdered, and she and her 2 sisters were stolen away to live in the treacherous high court of Fairy. 10 years later, Jude wants nothing more than to belong there, despite her mortality. But many of the Fae despise humans, especially Prince Carden, the youngest and wickedest son of the High King. To win a place at court, she must defy him and face the consequences. In doing so, she becomes embroiled in palace intrigues and deceptions, discovering her own capacity for bloodshed. But as civil war threatens to drown the courts of the Fairy in violence, Jude will need to risk her life in a dangerous alliance to save her sisters and Fairy itself. So yeah, I actually had to reserve this book at the library. There's a lot of people after this, so thank you, local library. All right, next is Renegades by Marissa Meyer. This is a book I told you about a couple months ago. It was in our November book release episode, and I said I might pick this up because I do like Marissa Meyer. So here we are. I'm going to review it. So I'm not 100% sure how many books will be in this series, as her last series was about 5 books total. But so all I know right now is it's called the Renegades series. There is a confirmed book 2. That's all that's been confirmed now. But we'll see. She has to write them, that's how it goes. So this was published November 7th, 2017. It's roughly about 556 pages long. It's a big one. It's in the young adult fantasy category. There's only about 2,000 reviews, so 2,000 reviews on Goodreads. So you can see the Holly Black one that we just talked about, just released not even more than a month ago, and it already has 3,000 reviews. And Renegades, that has a popular author already and a following from her last series, only has 2,000 reviews. So the average rating is a 4.1 on Goodreads, and on Amazon it has a 4.4. So again, very high. The Renegades are a syndicate of prodigies, humans with extraordinary abilities, who emerged from the ruins of a crumbled society and established peace and order where chaos reigned. As champions of justice, they remain a symbol of hope and courage to everyone, except the villains they once overthrew. Noah has a reason to hate the Renegades, and she's on a mission for vengeance. As she gets closer to her target, she meets Adrian, a renegade boy who believes in justice, and in Nova. But Nova's allegiance is to a villain who has the power to end them both. So, a little bit different. We got a little bit more of a synopsis there than back when I told you about this in November. But I am interested. It sounds like it's dystopian, which, is very much still flooded in this category. But there's still some books out there that have a lot of really great writing, world building. But again, I'm going to be critical because it's book number 1. I better get a lot of character development as well as world building. I want to picture everything. So just putting that out there. Number 3 is Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. So this is his first book since The Fault in Our Stars. And when The Fault in Our Stars came out, I was still a booktuber living in Philadelphia. So that was a long time ago. But it's a standalone, so that's nice. We're not talking about a series here. And John Green is extremely popular. He's a YouTuber. He has written a lot of books that a lot of people have hype around. I am kind of mixed. I like some of his novels. I've read quite a few. So I like some of them, but other ones I really, really dislike. So I'm kind of one of those that I'm not just going to give this a great rating because I love John Green. But I am going to be critical of it, especially since The Fault in Our Stars was an amazing book. That was actually one of my favorites from him. But is it going to live up to that amazing novel? It took him a long time to write this. And usually John Green, he always has like those kinds of messages in his books. Very powerful messages. So this was published in October 10th, 2017, so about 4 months ago. It's only 288 pages long, which compared to the rest of the books I'm telling you about today is the smallest one that I have on my list. So thank God, because I don't know if I can do 500-page books. So this is a young adult fiction. He tends to write fiction, realistic fiction novels. I have not seen him write outside of that category. It's something he's a very strong writer in. It has 14,000 reviews on Goodreads. So quite a lot. Now, again, it's John Green. That's why. That name holds a lot of power and standing in YA. So the average rating on Goodreads is 4.11 and a 4.5 on Amazon. Again, very high. But I'm curious to see, because he tends to get, a lot of his novels tend to be highly regarded and rated, and I haven't liked all of them, so we'll see. And I have friends that are the same way as me. Who knows? 16-year-old Asa never intended to pursue the mystery of fugitive billionaire Russell Pickett. But there's a $100,000 reward at stake, and our best and most fearless friend, Daisy, is eager to investigate. So together, they navigate the short distance and broad divides that separate them from Russell Pickett's son, Davis. Asa is trying. She is trying to be a good daughter, a good friend, a good student, and maybe even a good detective, while also living within the ever-tightening spiral of her own thoughts. So I don't know anything about this book. I have tried to keep myself in the dark because of how much hype is around it. And we'll see how I feel about it. It's going to be something I'm probably going to blow through pretty quickly, so look for that soon. All right, last but not least, this is the only book that I bought. And I have not bought a book in a very long time. I love going to the library. I have a great library system here where I live. But one, this was a book that I recently read that I loved, and I couldn't wait for the second one. So I kind of thought to myself, should I just buy it? I know that this is something I want to support. Heck yeah, I did it. And that is Thunderhead by Neal Shusterman. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I bought book 2 of Arc of a Scythe. If you recall, I did review book 1, Scythe, by Neal Shusterman, and I loved it. So it was probably one of my favorite books of 2017, personally for me. So, of course, it's so stoked to be able to read book 2, and the fact that I'm doing it so soon after its release is amazing. So it was published January 9th, 2018, so not even a month ago. So it doesn't have a lot of ratings. This actually has the lowest amount of ratings of all the books. I don't know why. We're going to see. Maybe people are, there's other books right now that are gaining a lot of hype, but I think this one, from the ratings I'm seeing, is going to be outstanding. Fingers crossed, though, because I loved Scythe. And if you're looking for how I felt about Scythe, other than me telling you that I loved it, go check out my episode of it. I gushed over that book so hard. And I'm so excited to read book 2. I'm so happy about it. So, it is 504 pages long. This is a thick book. It's young adult fantasy, dystopian world. It only has 642 reviews on Goodreads. Now, mind you, it is a newer release, but if we go back to that Holly Black novel of The Cruel Prince, these Thunderhead and The Cruel Prince released around the same time, about a month ago, and already The Cruel Prince has almost 3,000 more reviews than Thunderhead. So, with that said, should be a good review, honestly. It has a 4.6 rating on Goodreads and a 4.8 on Amazon. So I'm going to warn you right now. This is book 2. I have already reviewed book 1. If you are interested in this, please, please, please check it out. I can't say enough good things about it. It was a really, really great book. Boys, girls, men, women, you're all going to love it if this is up your speed. If you like dystopian, if you like world building, if you like an original concept, go after book 1. So with that said, I'm going to give you the synopsis of book 2. Again, this is going to have spoilers from book 1. If you do not want to listen to this, please mute me for 2 minutes, maybe less. But I don't want to spoil this for you, but I am so excited about this book, and since I'm going to review it, you're going to get spoiled if you listen to this review. So here we go. You have been warned. Rowan and Citra take opposite stances on the morality of the Scythe drum. Oh my gosh. Putting them at odds. Rowan has gone rogue and has taken it upon himself to put the Skydom through a trial by fire. Literally. In the years since the Winter Conclave, he has gone off-grid and has been striking out against corrupt scythes, not only in mid-America, but across the entire continent. He is a dark folk hero now, Scythe Lucifer, taking down corrupt scythes in flames. Citra, now a junior scythe under Scythe Suri, sees the corruption and wants to help change it from the inside out, but is thwarted at every turn and threatened by the New Order scythes. Realizing she cannot do this alone, or even with the help of Scythe Suri and Farday, she does the unthinkable and risks being deadish so she can communicate with the Thunderhead, the only being on Earth wise enough to solve the dire problems of a perfect world. But will it help solve those problems, or simply watch as perfection goes into decline? There you go. That's book 2. I can't frickin' wait. Oh my gosh. Fangirl. Okay. So we're going to take a quick break. I have some awesome shows to let you guys know about. And then we're going to get into the February releases for this month, as well as kind of tell you where I'm leaning as far as maybe picking a book or two in February to review in March. So stay tuned. We're going to bring you some awesome shows from Eventide Entertainment.
Wednesdays on Eventide, Robert Yetter and Mike Shea sit down and throw albums at each other, talking about them, picking them apart, ripping them a new one. All different artists, all different genres, all different levels of suckage. It's Track Record, Wednesdays at 9 a.m. on the Eventide podcast feed. For more information, go to eventideent.com.
You know, there's nothing quite as satisfying as a good conversation with intelligent company.
Join comedian Don Smith every week as he sits down and talks with comedians, actors, filmmakers, writers, and everyday schmoes. It's The Life with Don Smith, Wednesdays at noon on 106.9 FM, and now available on the Eventide Entertainment podcast feed every Friday on Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes.
Okay, we're back. Thank you for listening to everything we have to offer here at Eventide Entertainment. I love my family here. We're just a bunch of nerds in so many different categories. There should be something to tickle your fancy, if you know what I'm saying. All right, without further ado, let's talk about those February book releases. So like I said, February is a huge month. There are so many novels right now that are huge, buzzworthy novels. So I have 8 to tell you about. 8 books in February. 2 of them, maybe 3 of them are adult and the rest are YA. So get ready. The first one is The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. This is a standalone novel. Releases February 6th, 2018. It's an adult historical fiction at 448 pages long. Alaska, 1974. Untamed. Unpredictable. A story of family in crisis struggling to survive at the edge of the world. It is also a story of young and enduring love. Cora and her husband Ernest, a recently returned Vietnam veteran, scarred by the war, uproot their 13-year-old daughter Lenny to start a new life in Alaska. Utterly unprepared for the weather and the isolation, but welcomed by the close-knit community, they fight to build a home in this harsh, beautiful wilderness. At once an epic story of human survival and love, and an intimate portrayal of a family tested beyond endurance, The Great Alone offers a glimpse into a vanishing way of life in America. With her trademark combination of elegant prose and deeply drawn characters, Kristen Hanna has delivered an enormously powerful story that celebrates the resilience of the human spirit and the remarkable and enduring strength of women, about the highest stakes a family can face and the bonds that can tear a community apart. This is a novel as spectacular and powerful as Alaska itself. It is the finest example of Kristen Hanna's ability to weave together the deeply personal with the universal. So, not sure how I feel about it. I know it's going to be beautifully written. It talks about the writing specifically about how good it is. Character development sounds like it's going to be the strongest part of the novel. I don't necessarily think it's up my alley, but I could see why it's getting so much hype as far as a February release. It does sound like it's going to be beautiful. And who knows? I might pick it up one day. I'm going to see what people are kind of talking about at first. It might be one of those books I throw in a little bit later on. Next is How to Stop Time by Matt Haig. This is also a standalone. It publishes February 6th, 2018. It's adult fiction with fantasy elements. It is 336 pages. A love story across the ages and for the ages, about a man lost in time, the woman who could save him, and the lifetimes it can take to learn how to live. Tom Hazard has a dangerous secret. He may look like an ordinary 41-year-old, but owing to a rare condition, he's been alive for centuries. Tom has lived history, performing with Shakespeare, exploring the high seas with Captain Cook, and sharing cocktails with Fitzgerald. Now, he just wants an ordinary life. So Tom moves back to London, his old home, to become a high school history teacher, the perfect job for someone who has witnessed the city's history firsthand. Better yet, a captivating French teacher at his school seems fascinated by him. But the society, the secret group which protects people like Tom, has one rule: never fall in love. His painful memories of his past and the erratic behavior of the society's watchful leader threaten to derail his life and romance. The one thing he can't have just happens to be the one thing that might save him. Tom will have to decide once and for all whether to remain stuck in the past or finally begin living in the present. So I actually really like this. This sounds pretty interesting. Someone who lived a very long time. He got to see getting to interact with Shakespeare. What? That's kind of cool. I just think it's going to have a lot of history elements because obviously these are things that happened in the past. So this author is going to pull a lot of facts probably, but also kind of interweaving that fantasy that this person has lived through all of this, seeing these people interacted with these legends. But yet the one thing that he hasn't been able to have is love. Kind of sounds like it might be a heartbreaking book, but I love history, so we'll see. I think I might pick this up. It's intriguing, and it's only 336 pages long, which is easy to do. I need to throw more books into my life that are not 500 pages. Number 3, Force of Nature by Jane Harper. This is book 2 of a series called Aaron Falk. Published February 6th, 2018. This is adult mystery, and it comes in at 320 pages. 5 women go on a hike. Only 4 return. Jane Harper, the New York Times bestselling author of The Dry, asks, How well do you really know the people you work with? When 5 colleagues are forced to go on a corporate retreat in the wilderness, they reluctantly pick up their backpacks and start walking down the muddy path. But one of the women doesn't come out of the woods, and each of her companions tells a slightly different story about what happened. Federal police agent Aaron Falk has a keen interest in the whereabouts of the missing hiker, in an investigation that takes him deep into the isolated forest. Falk discovers secrets lurking in the mountains, in a tangled web of personal and professional friendship, suspicion, and betrayal among the hikers. But did that lead to murder? Yeah, I'm going to grab this. This sounds really good. Really great history. Wow, I said history and mystery together combined. Oh my goodness. It sounds like a really good mystery novel. I like that it's going to probably break down into 4 different perspectives. Maybe we'll get like different chapters and we'll hear what each version of that person's story is. And I like it because I can already tell that my mind will pick up on inconsistencies. And if this is well executed, it's going to be a great mystery novel. I'm intrigued. Yes. All right, next is The Bells. This is book 1 in a series called The Bells, published February 6th, 2018. This is a young adult fantasy coming in at 448 pages long. Camilla is a belle. In a world of Orleans, bells are revered, for they control beauty, and beauty is a commodity coveted above all else. In Orleans, the people are born gray. They are born damned. And only with the help of a belle and her talents can they transform and be made beautiful. But it's not enough for Camilla to be just a belle. She wants to be the favorite, the belle chosen by the Queen of Orleans, to live in the royal palace, to tend to the royal family and their court, to be recognized as the most talented belle in the land. But once Camilla and her belle sisters arrive at court, it becomes clear that being the favorite is not everything she's always dreamed it would be. Behind the gilded palace walls live dark secrets, and Camilla soon learns that the very essence of her existence is a lie. That her powers are far greater and could be more dangerous than she ever imagined. And when the queen asks Camilla to risk her own life and help the alien princess by using Belle's powers in unintended ways, Camilla now faces an impossible decision. When the future of Orleans and its people at stake, Camilla must decide, save herself and her sisters in the way of the bells, or resuscitate the princess, risk her own life, and change the ways of her world forever. So I like the idea that the people are born gray and the bells are the ones that come in and like transform them. That's the only way that they'll not be gray. But I'm not really sold on this book. It kind of sounds a little bit too fancy princess. And I mean, if what I like the most is mystery and dystopian and dark and gore, I don't know. I feel like this might irritate me, maybe? But it is getting a lot of buzz. So I think this is going to be ones that I'm kind of putting on hold. I don't know if I'm going to pick it up. I don't really like the description. It's just meh, not feeling it. But I want to see what people are saying. If they say it's really, really good and the concept continues to be original, it might be one I pick up. Next is Tempest and Slaughter by Tamora Pierce. This is book 1 in the Newmark Chronicles. Published February 6th, 2018. This is young adult fantasy, coming in at 480 pages. Aram Draper is a boy on the path to becoming one of the realm's most powerful mages. The youngest student in his class at the Imperial University, he has a gift with unlimited potential for greatness and for attracting danger. At his side are his two best friends, Varence, a clever girl with an often overlooked talent, and Orzone, the leftover prince with secret ambitions. Together, these three friends forge a bond that will one day shape kingdoms. And as Orzone gets closer to the throne and Varence gets closer to Aram's heart, Aram begins to realize that one day he will have to decide where his loyalties truly lie. In the new Meyer Chronicles, readers will be rewarded with a never-before-told story of how Numar Somalian came to Tortall. Newcomers will discover an unforgettable fantasy adventure where a kingdom's future rests on the shoulders of a talented young man with a knack for making vicious enemies. One word, no. I'm not interested in this personally. It is, again, one that's really high buzzing right now. It's a book one, so people always love getting into new series. It just doesn't sound like something I want to read. I have other books that have piqued my interest so much and get me excited to read that I don't want to drag my feet. However, if I talk to enough people, maybe my friends or even you guys, you tell me you want me to review this, I will. I do like that it is book one. It's fantasy. You know, I love fantasy. But I don't know. It didn't pull me in. But I can't weigh a decision based on the synopsis alone. Even though the synopsis is supposed to draw you into the story. So, we'll see what people say, but right now I am a firm no. All right, we have 3 more. Told you there's a lot going on this month. The Queen's Rising. Book 1 in an entitled trilogy. So we don't know the name of this trilogy yet. It's published February 6th, 2018. A lot of books are coming out this week. This is a young adult fantasy, 464 pages long. When her 17th summer solstice arrives, Brianna desires only 2 things: to master her passion and to be chosen by a Patreon. Growing up in the southern kingdom of Valenia at the renowned Magnalia house should have prepared her for such a life. While some are born with an innate talent for one of those 5 passions, art, music, dramatics, wit, and knowledge, Brianna struggles to find hers until she blatantly chose to study knowledge. However, despite all of her preparations, Brianna's greatest fear comes true. The solstice does not go according to plan, and she is left without a Patreon. Months later, her life takes an unexpected turn when a disgraced lord offers her patronage. Suspicious of his intent, and with no other choices, she accepts. But there is much more to his story, and Brianna soon discovers that he has sought her out for his own vengeful gain. For there is a dangerous plot being planned to overthrow the king of Mavena, the archivile kingdom of Valenia, and restore the rightful queen and her magic to the northern throne. And others are involved, some closer to Brianna than she realizes. With war brewing between the 2 lands, Brianna must choose which side she will remain loyal to, passion or blood, because a queen is destined to rise and lead the battle to reclaim the crown. The ultimate decision Brianna must determine is, who will be that queen? So I put this as one that I want to read. I'm intrigued. It seems to be a theme, though, lately is this, kingdoms and magic with princesses. And I like fantasy. I like that. But I just hope that there's enough darkness in there that it's not just all fluffy, fun, and silly and instant love stuff. So I am intrigued by it. I don't know how I feel about the synopsis. I always have a terrible time knowing how to say certain words, especially when they're made up kingdoms and stuff. Like, how do I not say that weirdly? I don't know. Moving on. Next is Heart of Iron by Ashley Poston. This is a standalone? ? Not really sure. Publishes February 27th, 2018. So we finally have a different published date. This is young adult science fiction, coming in at 480 pages. 17-year-old Anna is a scoundrel by nurture and an outlaw by nature. Found as a child drifting through space with a sentient android called DO9, Anna was saved by fearsome space captain and the grizzled crew she now calls family. But DO9, one of the last remaining illegal metals, has been glitching, and Anna will stop at nothing to find a way to fix him. Anna's desperate effort to save DO9 leads her on a quest to steal the coordinates to a lost ship that could offer all the answers. But at the last moment, a spoiled Iron Blood boy beats Anna to her prize. He has his own reasons for taking the coordinates, and he doesn't care what he'll sacrifice to keep them. When everything goes wrong, she and the Iron Blood end up as fugitives on the run. Now, their entire kingdom is after them and the coordinates, and not everyone wants them captured alive. What they find in the last corner of the universe will change all their lives and unearth dangerous secrets. But when a darkness from Anna's past returns, she must face an impossible choice. Does she protect a kingdom that wants her dead, or save the metal boy she loves? All right. Let me just take a minute to collect myself because I'm irritated. So this sounds amazing, the first half, right? Super cool, space, different concept, kind of has like, I don't know, DO9, like Star Wars vibe to it. Science fiction, love it. Is it a standalone? Probably not. But there's love. Yes, it's a big thing in YA is the love stories. But I just don't want a story to have that as be the main focus. It's irritating. I know that this is directed at a younger age group, but at the same time, it just gets old. Like, please tell me that this whole entire story doesn't revolve around these two people. Does she love him? Does she not? Just, ugh. So I do want to pick this up. It sounds really cool. I don't care for the love interest unless it's really well done. So this is a maybe. I'm going to see what people say. So let's wrap this up. I'm going to give you the last book, and it's the one I'm actually super excited for in February, and one that I am 100% probably going to buy. And it's because it's part of a series that I have been following for multiple years now, and I love the author so much. Both her YA stuff and her adult stuff. So, well, without further ado, the last book is The Dark Calling by Kresley Cole. This is book 5 in the Arcana Chronicles. Published February 13th, 2018. Young adult fantasy, unknown page length. Her books don't tend to be very long, though. I would say teetering between 300 to under 400 pages. And I love this series. I am obsessed with this series. It's one of the best series I've read that I've stuck with. Like book 5, like that's not normal for me to stick with a series that long. But this one is really well done. I actually started book 1 a very long time ago, and I actually listened to it while I was commuting a lot. And so it was an audiobook, and it was just so good that I had to buy the book and read the book myself, and I just got completely captivated into it. So I'm probably going to reread the series because I'm a little bit behind. I'm only on book 4, so I haven't finished book 4 yet. So I'm going to probably bring you in March book 4 and book 5 review, but I'm probably going to read the whole series, so I might just give you an entire series review instead. So get ready for that. So with that said, I'm going to give you the synopsis of this, but I did take out a lot of the pieces that kind of give it away. In a world teetering on the edge, when Evie receives life-changing and possibly game-changing news, she has trouble believing it. Why doesn't she feel any different? Is it possible someone she trusts might be lying? With enemies at every turn, tensions seethe inside the castle of long-lost time as Evie begins to doubt her own sanity. Answers must be found outside their stronghold. But will death help her find them or prevent her from learning the truth about her future and Jack's possible survival? Darkness beckons. A mysterious, sinister power begins to affect all the Arcania in its path. Forced out into the wasteland alone, Evie must depend on unexpected allies for survival. But as a battle with Richer looms, can her new alliance defeat the Dark Calling before hell reigns on Earth? So this didn't give anything away. I will tell you that the characters in this series are based on tarot card characters. So think of tarot cards. There's going to be certain characters that have these powers that are going to be based on a tarot card. It's so good. It starts with a dystopian world. The world kind of ends. You kind of learn about Evie before this apocalypse happens, and then after, and their survival. There is some love in there, but it's not the priority. It's funny, it's witty, it's just a really good series, and I'm so excited to reread it and be able to bring you that review in March. So look out for that. Sigh of relief. We are wrapping up. Thank you for listening to this episode. There was so many books coming out in February, and this month in particular has some great books I'm going to be reviewing. The Cruel Prince, Thunderhead, Renegades, and Turtles All the Way Down. Please tell me what you think about the choices that I made for this month, and tell me if there's any books that you think I should check out for March in these February releases. I haven't picked my March books yet, so just throwing that out there. But I hope everyone has a great week, and I'll see you next Sunday for a review. Not sure what I'm reading first, but I bet you'll like it. Thank you, and have a great week.